After our premiere in Toronto, we were invited back to Norway to screen our documentary at the Bergen International Film Festival. The section in our film about church burnings and Satanism had been generating some controversy here, so we weren't exactly looking forward to meeting with the press. What we were looking forward to was hearing what the Norwegian customs officer had to say about metal this time around.
I don't think there's any customs.
There's no customs?
We just kind of walked right into the country here. And there's no customs to be found.
Here to promote the film Metal Headbanger's Journey, a controversial movie about Satanism, death and violence in metal. How have the reactions been so far?
Why did you choose that focus on Bergen? Almost all of the quotes were about war deaconess or about church burning.
Was it easy or difficult to get people to communicate with you on this topic?
Some of the bands feel that you portrayed the Norwegian black metal scene only through the criminal stuff that happened, not through music. How did you react to that?
We did an interview with the newspaper, BA is kind of the main tabloid newspaper in Bergen. BA has been a bunch of BS actually in the case of our movie. And so tonight we have a screening of the film at the Garage, which is the main metal hangout in Bergen, with 100, 200 people there. And we're going to do a question and answer afterward to, I think, give our perspective and try and set the record straight.
I said that black metal is starting to lose touch.
Who are they?
Its roots.
Which one? Who the fuck are you talking to? Fuck that.
Do you have any comments on that?
Fuck that. Yeah, I have a comment. Fuck you.
In Bergen there's been a lot of writings in the tabloid press about the whole Norwegian section has only been about black metal, church burnings, and do you feel that you maybe become a victim of the thing that you say about heavy metal are constantly being stereotyped? Because for people in Norway, black metal is so much more than those incidents.
Yeah. I think this is the most important question tonight. I think first and foremost, what I want to say is that our intentions in coming to Bergen and filming in Norway was in no way to paint all Norwegian metal bands in the same light.
I've never myself been a part of the metal scene, but I still grew up in a town where church burnings were very popular in the early 90s. And with your film, it's interesting, I like it, and I learn a lot from it. But still, you never question church burnings. If you allow someone in your film to talk about the fact that we need to crush the church's Semitic roots, doesn't that imply that you need to give some room to debate about this? Why do you choose just to let someone give these opinions without questioning them at all?
The problem with a 90-minute documentary is that you can never quite cover all of the details you'd like. If I had my way, our film would be 8 hours long. So now that we're back in Norway, I have the opportunity to go deeper into black metal and its relationship to Norwegian culture. Hopefully this will give me a better understanding of why the church burnings happened and their impact on Norwegian society.
there was a moral panic around Satanism, and it was very much a media-driven event, I think, very much a media-driven phenomenon, that Satanism was sort of engulfing our youth.
Felt watched, society was watching, and the police was watching. So
there was an ostracizing of black metal fans who wore the uniform.
It acted as a kind of like fruitcake magnet too, because it would draw out all these fruitcakes in the Norwegian papers, like I sleep in the coffin in the woods, you know. But do you play an instrument? No, this is not relevant. Which kind of pissed off a lot of the bands, including us.
I think it's just ridiculous. Especially the people that lit up our fucking old churches, like 1,000-year-old churches. They don't really realize this is actually heathen churches before Christianity. So they fucked themselves in the ass by doing that.
Yeah, of course, people don't think much about it, support the church, because they, like, by tradition, are Christian. It's one of these things which works, which backfire, as you said.
If you look at all the black metal people around the world, and there's a real small group here in Norway trying to make a statement by burning churches, and maybe a few killings were, happened, but I don't think that that's representative for the entire black metal scene in the whole world.
I think it's good promotion for your band. That's what I think.
This history is kind of overshadowing the music, you know. That's not good.
It made black metal a real name, I think, but nowadays Norwegian black metal is bigger than ever, and I think that's mainly because of the music, not of the church burnings.
Tearing the flesh of the weak tender child, spurning my load of the meek and the mild, passing my fangs in your neck as you dream. I am conqueror of vampire supreme.
Norwegian black metal's history is rooted in the early black metal movement of the 1980s. Bands such as Venom, Merciful Fate, Bathory, and Celtic Frost forged a new direction in the history of metal, one that was raw, primitive, and defiantly anti-Christian. Although this first wave was short-lived, in Norway, a group of young musicians were determined to revive the black metal spirit.
There's never been much interesting happening in the musical scene in Norway. Most of the bands were sort of imitations of foreign things, and you had Norwegian record companies looking for the Norwegian Nirvana and things like that. And then suddenly there's this whole genre of music that's being given a whole renaissance in Norway, and it actually becomes a sign of quality to be from Norway.
Artistically, the most important thing that happened in the 90s was Scandinavian black metal. All the ground had already been laid by death metal and grindcore. Really super fast drumming, screeching vocals, but they also tried to get back to a more primitive, fiery spirit, summoned using keyboards and a lot of choral vocals and a lot of imagery of the natural wilds.
The whole second wave black metal thing was going back to the primitive while still being sort of pompous. I mean, you had the gritty of punk and rock and roll, but you also had like room for Wagner or some classical stuff.
It's very, very epic and floating in a way. It's not really that hard hitting and you know beating. It's not that upfront.
That's really the sound Emperor eventually became.
Norway has a population of 4.5 million people and is ranked #1 on the United Nations Quality of Life Index. It's home to the Nobel Peace Prize, and since the discovery of massive offshore oil deposits in the late 1960s, Norway has become one of the world's wealthiest countries. So how is it that this place became the home of metal's most extreme subgenre, black metal?
Do you think there's a strong pressure to conform in Norway?
Of course it's important to conform. They start through socialization, through kindergarten and school, that you should be part of a group, that you shouldn't stick out too much, that you shouldn't make too much noise, that you shouldn't protest too much, It's not really a culture where opposition is valued.
What is a vital power here is a kind of, you might say, sheepishness, conformism, following the stream of general morality and not fashioning your own morality, depending too much on the others. And that's why I'm also saying that perhaps black metal is the sort of the ultimate moral form of anarchism, because it says you have to have faith in yourself.
My aggression comes definitely from the morality and this civilization. What you're supposed to do, all the rules you must follow to be respected. By the rules, I mean how you're supposed to live. Supposed to get a job, to reproduce, get a family. That's the main reason I play metal music, to let out the aggression there.
The metal scene in Norway is challenging the social democratic ideology in Norway in a very interesting way, because the metal scene is, well, representing a kind of very individualistic ideology.
My lyrics, they all come down to being about the single individual standing up against, you know, a big mighty force. You know, it can be an institution like the church, or it can be, you know, against whatever kind of force that is working against the individual.
People in the scene playing this kind of music view that very high, being able to stand for what you believe and think for yourself instead of follow all the trends and basically being just a fucking moron.
That's basically why black metal was created, because we didn't fit into the rest of the metal scene. We don't stand for socialism, we don't stand for democracy. We stand for the individual and the strongest survival.
They don't fit into the overarching Norwegian narrative, you see, because the Norwegian narrative about Norway is that Norwegian culture and society can only produce good deeds and good thoughts. And these are people who demonstratively want to be bad.
Hatred is the fuel of black metal, I'd say. And always being you know, in opposition, and that means if I have to turn on myself or turn on things I've created, I'll do that as well. There's no one safe. I'm kicking in every direction.
A lot of young people today, they want to oppose to something, that to authority.
Yeah.
And maybe the churches has been linked too much to the authority.
Right.
And that has maybe been some of the reasons for opposition against the church.
Black metal and Satanism. Because black metal is Satanism. It's there's no other answer.
For black metal, more than any other genre of metal, the lyrics are just as important as the music. Yes, the music should create a feeling, but if the lyrics are kind of half-hearted and not evoking a satanic thought, then it's not black metal.
Black metal, though, even the sound was probably different from death metal, but initially I think it was something about it having to be, at least having some kind of satanic ground.
My only goal is to procreate Satan. The main goal in all would have to be able to remove the word Satan from every man's tongue and just become it.
Satanism, in a way, is about not trying to conform to whatever the mass demands at any one particular point in time and space. Satanism doesn't believe in a literal devil. Satanism believes in the idea of Satan or Lucifer as an emblem, or at most a personification of the dark force, the dark creative force in nature.
It seems to connect to a life force, an energy that is of a rather dark kind. People want to feel alive, but alive in a certain sense at the expense of others. It's parasitic life.
This kind of black metal which draws a lot on Christian and anti-Christian symbolism, is itself an integral part of Christianity. It shows how dependent it is on Christianity. The inverted cross, nothing could be more Christian than that.
How do you see Satanism being portrayed in black metal?
First of all, the concept of Satan, the Satan as being evil. The Satan that is in the tradition after John Milton is being the rebellious figure who opposes the unjust ruler, but also he is still evil. And the importance of overthrowing the ethical norms of society.
What do you think that the appeal of satanic imagery within the context of metal is?
Well, I would go with rebellion.
It was associated with revolt, with rebellion, and they became Satanists because that was the only form of opposition left, the vacant slot. Because their parents had been against the Vietnam War, they had been pacifists. So what was left for them? Well, nothing except Satanism, because that had not been taken.
One of the easiest way to achieve a reaction is to use words or symbols that are the opposite of what is normally accepted. And of course, so-called satanic symbols or satanic words is, it's very easy to create a reaction.
I mean, I would define Satanism as being part of a philosophical path towards something else. This may sound like a cliche, but discovering the darker parts about yourself and life in general may help you to be a more perceptive human being. I would not categorize myself as a Satanist. I haven't done for years. I feel I'm personally way beyond that. What I am proud of is that as a very young person I took a stand and made up an opinion about something.
What makes the Norwegian scene special in the history of metal is that unlike any other scene, whether it's the San Francisco the Bay Area thrash metal scene, whether it's the Florida death metal scene or the Gothenburg death/thrash metal scene, is that unlike any of those movements, the culture and the place is incorporated into the music and the lyrics and the imagery. And that's totally unique in metal. Most metal is about rejecting your own culture, rejecting your own society, and it becomes just a celebration of individualism and rebellion.
Yeah, I know. The Vikings and everything. It all falls into place very neatly. If it's God's master plan, is that really black metal?
It's the chosen one.
I don't like this piece in the puzzle, but damn, it fits. Black metal, Norway.
Yeah, that's a nice sort of cheeky way of trying to brand your own thing, of course. But it might work. I mean, if Santa Claus comes from Finland, why not say that black metal music comes from Norway?
You know that the Eskimos have 22 words for snow, but Immortal has 23.
One has, and with a certain justification, I guess, in the rest of the world, an idea of Norway as being extremely exotic. I mean, it's so cold and it's mountainous, and the climate is so horrible, and it's nearly devoid of people. And then you have the rich Norse mythology, of course, and all of this can easily be sort of fed into black metal music.
Most Norwegians are in a way proud of their Viking heritage, and the metal scene look upon this Viking history as important and believe Norwegians to be closely related to the Viking mythology.
When we started out in 91, we, as every other band, needed to have some angle at what we were doing. But the satanic thing didn't work out for us. We felt that we needed to do something that we could stand behind 100%. And we were trying to find this common ground, me and Grutle, and we found that common fascination for Northern mythology.
The whole lyrical concept of Enslaved is kind of based upon not the Viking heritage, but more the Viking mythology. I mean, the ideas they had, for instance, Odin as a part of your individual consciousness, as your wisdom, while, for example, Thor, he represented your strength.
The gods in the Norse mythology are so much more interesting than the Christian God, because they embody both good and evil. They're unpredictable in a way which certainly the God of the New Testament is not. So they're easier to identify with.
I find it hard to believe that there is anything positive to gain from this attempt at reawakening the Norse gods. I think they are soundly dead and will not be awakened. Obviously, at the time, 1200 years ago, they did nurture religious belief, they did nurture society in this country, but I think they are no longer capable of that.
Christian influence has been strong on all parts of Norwegian social life, but very, very few actually attend church. So it's an extremely secularized country, with people formally belonging to the church, adopting its symbols culturally, but it plays very little real role in people's spiritual life.
I want to kind of look behind the kind of childish Christian description of the myths, and I was starting to pick up books about this very strong individual religion, very different from the big religions of the world like Christianity, Islam, where there is one god, there is a lot of rules, and there is one leader. The religions of the Vikings were more based upon advices instead of rules, individual freedom and so on.
I think the emotional and physical power represented in the Norse gods is attractive. It can perhaps be more personal because it has not yet been appropriated by the establishment of society, which Christianity has for 1,000 years in this country.
For me it's a good thing because it makes me feel anchored in a way. It's rooted. I'm not into it because it's better than something else or it makes me feel superior to something. It just makes me feel connected to something. And especially when we've been singing in the always and stuff. That's given a very special sense of belonging to something.
I think that what happened says a lot more about the need for young people to belong. Perhaps it says just as much about that to me as it does about the act of burning a church, which is a symbol of religion and is making, I guess, a religious statement. I think it says as much about people's social lives and the need for an identity and struggling to find what they believe in.
Yeah, and I think the young people today, they need something to believe in. And when I was young, we believed in a better world. We believed in peace. We believed in. But I think young people today, it's so difficult for them to have something to really believe in. And maybe this was a result of that. And maybe this was also the result of that the church, in a way, failed. We didn't give them the faith that they needed.
We've made a kick-ass story, and the people very love it, and thank you for participating. This is being recorded right now for our DVD extras, so what I would like to hear just comments from people. Just not questions, but just comments.
I think it should be much longer. That's my biggest complaint of your movie, that it's too short. It should be much longer.
The extras should be in like 8 hours, and I said I would be there, and I would if it was 8 hours. I love the movie.
I got one comment and one question. I dig the film. Do you? Pardon? I dig the film. Do you dig it? You dig it? Yeah, do you dig it? I dig it. Totally, man. I dig it. I dig it. I'm with you. I dig it.
Of course we dig it. We made it.
We dug it.